Hello and welcome to our show today. I'm Jamie Smith, Cancer Control Specialist with the Kentucky Cancer Program. The Kentucky Cancer Program and its District Cancer Council continues a statewide campaign on colorectal cancer across the state. Colon cancer is the second leading cause of death in Kentucky and in the nation. This is all the more tragic because colon cancer is one of the most preventable and treatable cancers if detected early. Many people don't like talking about colon cancer in screenings, but we know early detection can save lives. Here are just a few statistics to begin our show today. Approximately 141,000 cases of colorectal cancer were diagnosed in 2011. Over 49,000 deaths occurred from colorectal cancer in 2011. And in Kentucky, there were approximately 2,420 cases and 850 deaths. Unfortunately, we still see a high incidence and mortality rate in Kentucky, and that is due to the underuse of screening. Each year in March, we observe Colon Cancer Awareness Month and National Dress in Blue Day, which is the first Friday of the month. We hope to see the statistics I mentioned earlier change dramatically in the future years. We will do this by education and colon cancer screenings. I'm joined today by colorectal cancer awareness champions who are spearheading the mission statewide and locally. It is our pleasure to have with us Mrs. Madeline Abramson, the Lieutenant Governor's wife and Honorary Chair for Dress in Blue Day in Kentucky. She is working with the Kentucky Cancer Program across the state to increase colorectal cancer awareness and encourage everyone to be screened. I'm also happy to be joined by Kathryn Joyner, Marketing Coordinator at Western Baptist Hospital here in Paducah. Western Baptist has been a local Blue Star champion leader in Paducah and has led the way in educating the public on colon cancer awareness. Thank you both for joining us today.
Thank you.
I'd like to start with Ms. Abramson. Please tell us a little bit about how you actually became involved in colorectal cancer awareness.
Well, I first became involved when I had the opportunity, and I'll call it an opportunity, in my early 40s to undergo screening and a colonoscopy. And it really showed me the fact that how important screening is. I was very fortunate in the outcome, and it also taught me that the screening process is not nearly as frightening as everyone thinks it is. Yes. And that really began my journey of telling people of the importance of screening for colon cancer. I was Honorary Chair of the Dress in Blue initiative in my home community of Louisville for several years, and now I'm very pleased to take this on a statewide project.
Great. I know as Kentucky Cancer Program, we're really excited to have a statewide Honorary Chair, and you're such a great spokesperson for it because you do have such the desire and the willingness to go out and educate people. So we just want to say thank you for all that you do for Kentucky and the Kentucky Cancer Program.
Well, thank you. As I say, it's an honor for me to be able to represent the Kentucky Cancer Program and to be able to tell people on a first-hand basis that it is important and it's what you need to do.
Exactly. Well, some people may not know what Dress in Blue Day is. I said earlier it's the first Friday of every March, but what exactly is Dress in Blue Day?
Well, Dress in Blue Day, as you said, is a national effort to bring attention to screening for colorectal cancer. And Dress in Blue Day is many things other than just dressing in blue, which obviously we encourage people to do, but it's activities all across the state during the entire month of March to bring awareness to the importance of screening. Right. As you mentioned, colon cancer is the second leading cause of cancer deaths in Kentucky, so we have a lot of work to do, and we're very hopeful that Dress in Blue Day, although it has many fun aspects, has a very serious underlying agenda, and that's to raise the awareness of the importance of screening.
Exactly. I always tell people too, they talk about it, and at the hospital you guys do so many different events throughout the months. You know, you've got Red Day in February, and then you've got Pink in October, and we just want blue to really be that thing that everybody recognizes. You know, everybody knows what red means, everybody knows what pink means, and we want everyone to know what blue means as well. So I think that objective across the state is well on its way. So Kathryn, let's talk then a little bit about Western Baptist Hospital. They've certainly been the leader in the community. It seems like every time we come to you, Western Baptist always comes through with some great activity, and awareness campaign. And so please share why Western Baptist has even rallied behind colon cancer. Why is it a priority at Western Baptist Hospital?
Well, we fully believe that early detection saves lives. And aside from the prep that goes along with the colon cancer screening or a colonoscopy, it is one sure way to detect cancer early. And we work in every way that we can to get that word out there through our Health Source magazines, Facebook. We just always want those constant reminders out there for people to get that done.
Perfect. And Ms. Abramson, why do you think colon cancer screening is so important for Kentuckians? There's a lot of people out there that just don't really think it's, you know, something they need to worry about.
Well, as I mentioned earlier, again, colon cancer being the second leading cause of cancer deaths in Kentucky, but the important thing is colon cancer is preventable, it's treatable at an early stage, and many times the symptoms or there are no symptoms until the later stages. So that's why it's difficult for people to think of screening when they don't feel bad or they don't have symptoms. And so it's so important to emphasize, particularly to Kentuckians, that it's the right thing to do right now. When you turn 50 or when you have other signs that you should go forward with the screening. And I think it's important for people to do for themselves, but also for the people who depend on them. Many times people, and I think in particular women, are so busy taking care of everyone else they forget to take care of themselves. And it's important to realize that we have to do the right thing for our health in order to be able to take care of the people who depend on us.
That's right. Well, I know that you're certainly traveling the state a lot, and we live in such a great state, and we have a lot of great people that live in our state. And so you're out talking to a lot of these people, and you're taking some key messages across the state. But what are those key messages that you're saying to people? And whenever people talk to you about colon cancer, what are they saying to you?
Well, most people are not aware of the fact that colon cancer is the second leading cause of cancer deaths in Kentucky. I think some of the other cancer programs have done a wonderful job of educating the public as to the importance of screening. We all, have our regular mammograms, where in the previous generation that was not necessarily the case. So I feel as though the colon cancer education effort has a long way to go, but we are making progress. Screening in Kentucky is up. Cancer deaths from colon cancer are down, but we have a long way to go. And that's what I tell people, is that if you take away any message from our visits, it's talk to someone who's in that period where they should be screened, and make sure you get a loved one to get that screening. Right.
And you talked about some of those statistics have changed over the years, and it's actually pretty impressive what Kentucky's actually done with those screening numbers, the increase in screening and the decrease, but we're still so high. And so we still have a lot of work to do. And so we, take these messages across the state, and it's great now that we're bringing more awareness to that.
Well, and Governor Beshear and the legislature have stepped up and have really talked to all Kentuckians about the importance of colon cancer screening, and have really made a great effort to educate the public. But as you know, we're all bombarded with a great deal of information in our lives, so many times it takes that one-on-one contact, reminding a person of the importance of screening, reminding Kentuckians to get their loved ones to be screened. So that's what we're all about, is making sure that people get their screening and take advantage of it.
Great. Well, Kathryn, let's talk then a little bit about what we're doing here locally. Obviously, across the state, Ms. Abramson is going to share with us some more activities, but let's talk about what we're doing here locally in Paducah, because people can take advantage of some of these opportunities and participate.
One thing we brought to the area a few years back is HD TV, and basically this is a new technology which is high def, just as it says, and for physicians, the technology provides a sharper image with greater contrast, and that allows the physicians to provide a more accurate diagnosis for the patient. So there are several things outside of programs that we are doing to help prevent cancer in this area and help cure it.
It's important. Technology is one of the biggest keys to being able to detect colon cancer earlier. And why would Western Baptist invest in such a big project like that?
It's part of our mission. We want to help make this community healthy, and like you say, it's one of the leading killers, and people do not know that. And because the screening is there and it is an easier one, we really want people to take advantage of that and be happy with their families down the road.
And I think it's important for people to know what's available locally, because some people may think that, well, it's Paducah, we may need to go somewhere else, but there is treatment and screenings and things like that here locally that people can take advantage of too, and they don't have to travel away from home.
Right.
Well, let's talk about some of the fun activities that Western Baptist has done over the years during March.
We every March we try to focus on or just do something different. 2 years ago we had a luncheon. One of the doctors spoke, and then afterwards we had a blue balloon release, and it was beautiful to see the balloons go up. We do blue lights around the hospital. We even offer a blue plate special from year to year with foods designed that are more apt to prevent colon cancer. And our big day at the hospital is it provides an opportunity for our employees to wear blue jeans to work. So we host a Dress in Blue Day. Our employees get to pay $5 to wear blue jeans, and then of course that money we put toward fighting cancer. And it's an exciting time and a great fun way to bring awareness to colon cancer.
Great. And one other thing we've done locally, and I know Ms. Abramson's a big champion behind now, is there's an inflatable colon that has traveled across the state, and we've done that before in the past at Western Baptist. We're continuing that, and it's continued across the entire state. But that's fun for people to be able to walk through and, to see what colon cancer looks like, and it's always, everybody likes an inflatable, right? But you can't jump on it.
No.
But Ms. Abramson, if you would just kind of share some of the other things that you're doing across the state this year.
Well, I will be traveling some with the inflatable colon, which always is interesting when you tell people that but the inflatable colon is a great messenger, if you will, because it is all about education, and that certainly gets people's attention and gives them the opportunity to learn more. But all across the Commonwealth there will be activities such as the ones you're doing, and many fun things, but certainly with a serious underlying agenda, and many educational opportunities. Also on March 1st in Frankfort, there will be a rally for colon cancer awareness supporters to kick off the day. There will be activities in Louisville at lunchtime on March 2nd in the downtown business district to try and reach workers on their lunch hour. And literally all over the Commonwealth, there are just going to be hundreds of activities to raise the awareness.
That's great. Well, I know that hopefully everybody will at least be able to acknowledge this month, and now people are educated, so whenever they see the blue, they'll know what that means. But, well, I just want to thank you both for joining me today and to talking about colorectal cancer awareness and some of the special activities that's going on along the state. And if you have some questions about what they've mentioned today, you can call the Kentucky Cancer Program at 442-1310. We're going to take just a short break, and we're going to come back with two more guests. We're going to be joined by a colorectal cancer survivor and an endo technician from Western Baptist Hospital, who's going to give us a little bit more technical expertise. Welcome back to the show. We previously discussed Colon Cancer Awareness Month and Dress in Blue Day. I know you may be watching the show and some of these dates we mentioned earlier have passed, but we hope each March you will be aware of activities going on locally and across the state for colon cancer. Now we are ready to discuss more about screenings and some insight from a local survivor. I'm joined by Harriet Byers, an endo technician from Western Baptist Hospital, and Debbi Bendel, a colorectal cancer survivor. Thanks for joining me today.
Thank you.
I'd first like to start with Debbi. If you would just kind of tell us a little bit about yourself, your survivor story.
Well, I just didn't realize what what colon cancer, it was, honestly, I thought men got that, and I don't know why,
Yeah.
but that's what I did. And it's been 20 years, and I was seeing some blood, and I just let it go. I let it go for a year.
Wow.
And then I finally decided to have it checked out. I was very, very lucky because it was a slow cancer.
Good.
But then 9 years ago, it came back. There wasn't much blood at all. I wasn't even for sure if
Right.
I'd even seen it. And I have a friend that's a PA that just insisted I have it checked out. And this time, it was fast, but they caught it in time.
Well, that's great.
Yeah.
2-time survivor, so that's great. And it's great too that you mentioned that you saw something but you weren't really for sure.
I was
and-
scared.
Yeah, and some people out there may just be just like that. So it's important to take a stance for yourself and get yourself checked out. So, other than the signs of the blood, were there any other things that you maybe could make you think that you had colon cancer?
I was very tired.
Okay.
I just didn't feel like doing anything.
Right, and that's definitely another sign as well. Some of the other signs may be that you may not have any symptoms at all, kind of like your second instance that you had. You really didn't have specific symptoms, just kind of a feeling. But change in bowel habits is another one as well. General abdominal discomfort, and then the fatigue, which we
Yes.
just you just
Yes.
mentioned, and that's due to the hidden blood loss. Weight loss with no known reason, and then also having nausea or vomiting are some other symptoms that a person may have. So another thing that we look at are risk factors. And what about your family history? Were there any family history of colon cancer?
Not colon.
Okay.
But my mother had had cancer, and my dad had had cancer. And my dad did die from cancer.
Okay.
But
never anything to make you think,
No,
"Okay, I
not
need
at
to get
all.
screened early." Okay. Some other risk factors, obviously family history is one of the biggest ones, and age. Sometimes just the older you get, the more likely you are to develop cancer. History of colon polyps, which we're going to have Harriet talk to us a little bit more about in a little bit. Inflammatory bowel disease, genetic alterations. Your diet can play a big role in your risk for getting colon cancer. Race, ethnicity, and then also cigarette smoking is now directly related to colon cancer as well. So it's important for people to know that, and tobacco cessation is available for them. So Harriet, we mentioned the word polyp. There's different types of polyps. We're going to have some pictures of some polyps
Okay.
up so people can see different kinds. If you'll kind of maybe be able to tell what they are, what kinds.
Well, polyps themselves are growths in the colon, in the large, when we say colon, it is the large bowel.
Right.
And they are growths in there that's what develops into the cancer, is
Okay.
the growth. You have cancers that are you have polyps that are on stalks, we call them, that they grow out and they're just wiggling out there and we take them off. Then you have polyps that are they grow just kind of flat against the tissue, and then you have some that are just like carpet, that it's very even hard for us to find when we're in there. If it's really laying right against the wall, sometimes you have trouble seeing. That right there is one that I call, when we say, it's called pedunculated, which it means it's on a stalk.
Okay. Yeah, and some people might think that that's just what a polyp is. They don't realize that they can be flat.
Yes.
Against the colon. Again, that's another stem polyp there as well. Harriet, can you tell then everybody about what the colonoscopy actually entails? Because obviously you have to be able to see the polyps and get to them.
Right. Well, there's your colon. A colonoscopy, the scope. What the scope is a long, flexible tube that has a camera and a light on the end of it.
Okay.
And then when we do the colonoscopy, we put you to sleep or make you sleepy. You're still breathing on your own, all that stuff. We make you real sleepy. And we feed this scope up through the colon and over to the end of it, which is the cecum. And then once we're there, on the way out, it's when we blow up the colon. The colon lays down on itself, just like a balloon lays down on itself. And as we are in there looking and stuff, we blow it up with air that blows it up like a balloon to where we can see the wall when we come out. It's not 100% test because it doesn't blow up evenly like a balloon does,
Right.
but it is because it still has some folds in it stuff. But as we work our way out, we're looking behind those folds and doing the best we can, and that's how we see the polyps as we come out.
Okay.
And the way we take them off is we cut them off by cautery, which is like snare. We take this little loop thing that goes down through the scope, loops out, loops over the polyp, and then we just cut it off with electricity, it's called.
Okay. And so then that is fed out for them to test.
Yes, then we pull it out or we suck it out and stuff. We send that off for testing, yes.
All right. Harriet, some people may think, well, I've had a colonoscopy once before, I had some polyps removed, or I didn't have any polyps at all, so I don't need to worry about another colonoscopy. But can polyps grow back?
Oh yes, they can grow back as well as new ones can form. They say polyps take about 10 years from the time they start to where they'll develop into a cancer. Now, like she said, there's some fast growing and there's some slow growing, so you want to be aware of it. Now, the research or the people, they say if you've never had one done, no family history of any colon cancer, no cancer of anybody having any polyps, then you should have one at age 50.
Right.
And then you should have another one, whether you had polyps or not, at age 60. Then you might be all right.
Yeah.
But if you've had, like if a family member had colon cancer at age 40, then you would want to start having a screening at age 30.
Right.
10 years before.
Right. And I know one thing that they've always mentioned too, it's not just colon cancer, but you know, if you have a parent or sibling that's had polyps, then you know that screening needs to begin 10 years before.
Yeah.
And a lot of people just aren't really familiar with that. And that's a conversation that we really need to encourage people to have with their physicians too, because they really need to be referred over to a gastro doctor for that screening, because that's the only thing that can prevent it.
Yeah, and primary care doctors are really, they do a good job.
If we tell them our history.
And then we tell them the history, they do a good job. But usually, you know, I see so many every day, and I say, now, why are you here? And they'll say, Dr. So-and-so told me to keep coming. It was my turn. I'm 50.
That's good. That's good. But it's amazing when I go out there and I'm educating about different types of cancers and to know the family history. They don't know what the parents have had, and they never think to ask. So it's always important to know that, to ask that. And Debbie, what advice would you give someone that's maybe out there putting off their colonoscopy? They're a little scared.
Don't. Don't do that. I mean, I could have been dead if I hadn't decided to brave up. I mean, that test is okay. It's the prep.
It's the prep, everybody.
Yeah.
And it's amazing the prep that they have out now. I don't know, Harriet, if you want to talk about it a little bit, but my mom's has just had one, and her prep was completely different than just from even 5 years ago.
Well, you know, research goes on all the time. I mean, that's what they do. I mean, and they find out the best prep, the prep we want, is a prep that cleans out your colon the best. Because what I can see those polyps, or when we can see the polyps, is when the colon's clean. And so, you know, they find out what is, you know, they know people don't like it. That's the thing that keeps people from coming. It's not us coming and putting you to sleep for the day.
Right.
It's you taking the prep the night before. So they try to make it easy as they can, but they want to do a good job when they're looking. When you're there and we got you there, we want you to have a good, clean colon so we can see.
Because if not, you're going to have to go back and do a prep again and come back.
And then, but it's also very discouraging. What if you come and have a colon and you hadn't got a good prep, or you just got a halfway prep, then it's like, what if you develop cancer later? You know, and it's because we couldn't see.
Right.
You know.
And I've had people to tell me, I am really going to eat a lot before I start that. That's not the best.
Yeah, wait till after and then go eat. Well, let's talk a little bit about some new technology. Kathryn earlier told us about Western Baptist investing in a high definition TV that's used for the colonoscopies. Explain what that is.
Well, I'm not real technical,
right.
But I can tell you it's not just the TV or the monitor.
Okay.
We watch. On the end of the scope is the camera, and that camera has the technology in it too that is the high def. Okay. And then we have a high def monitor we watch just like everybody watched the football game Sunday in the high def.
Yeah.
It's that kind of picture. It's from daylight to dark.
Much clearer.
Clearer, crisper. I mean, you're just seeing where we used to see these, when I talk about the polyps being carpet-like or just really small little polyps. Not that we might miss them or anything, but it's just like, man, they snap out at you now. So you see them. You're not having to guess, is that a polyp or not? Let's keep looking around it and stuff like that. It's very crisp and very, very clean and very up front.
Yeah, that's amazing, and it's great how much technology advances, and you can get those clearer and crisper images.
And there's new things coming out all the time. Another thing that along with this is called narrowbanding imaging that's we can do too, and that's just like flicking a light. It's like doing a light flick, and it makes it a blue color that comes on, and that shows different too. That kind of shows the tissue is kind of more different and stuff. And then the white imaging is coming up too. That's still in the research stage, and that's even shows more polyps and stuff.
Well, Harriet, you mentioned earlier that someone should begin screening at age 50, and so I wanted to go over just briefly some of those tests that are available. Obviously, we've talked about the colonoscopy beginning at age 50, and you mentioned every 10 years if you're good, but if you have some, you may have to go back more than that. There's also a flexible sigmoidoscopy that is recommended every 5 years, but it doesn't do the entire colon. It just does part of that. There's a double contrast barium enema that can be done every 5 years, much like an X-ray. There's a CT colonography done now, which they call the virtual colonoscopy. And it's an X-ray too, a CT, but it's rather expensive, and some insurances do not cover that. And then there's also some tests that find mainly cancer. There's a fecal occult blood test that can be done, and then there's a new one that's out there they call the FIT test, which actually can tell the difference between animal blood and human blood. So those are available too. But obviously colonoscopy is the gold standard for screening because it does the whole colon. And then some new things they're looking at is stool DNA testing, and they're looking at that with genetics too, so that might be interesting to see with you and your family. Is there anything that maybe the doctors talked about to prevent colon cancer with you in the future for it coming back? Not really?
No.
Okay. Well, and they may not, but obviously having another regular colonoscopy done is one of the biggest things. But watching your diet and not using tobacco products, exercising, everything like that. Well, I want to thank you both for joining us today. We've definitely got some great insight from a survivor herself, and then a great technical aspect of it as well that I think you did a great job of explaining the whole process so that maybe can alleviate some people's fears out there. Thank you for joining us today, and if you have questions about services provided at Western Baptist Hospital, phone the Baptist Health Line at 575-2918. Now is the time to call your doctor and ask about a screening test that's right for you. Routine screening is highly effective. 9 out of 10 colon cancers may be prevented or cured if detected earlier. For more questions you have, feel free to contact us at the Kentucky Cancer Program at 442-1310. Thanks for joining us.